binds all things across the galaxy, connecting every living being in an invisible web of energy that flows through space and time. For millennia, the Jedi had studied this power, believing they understood its nature, its limits, its will. But what happens when something arrives that the Force itself cannot fully comprehend? A being whose very existence was forged in a different crucible of reality, where gods walk as men and empires span 1,000,000 worlds. Above Coruscant, the galactic capital, the sky tore open. Not the familiar blue-white flash of a hyperspace reversion, not the subtle shimmer of a cloaked vessel decloaking. This was something primal, wrong, a wound in the fabric of space itself. Crimson and gold energies writhed at the edges of the breach, colors that seemed to scream in frequencies human eyes were never meant to perceive. Traffic control sensors shrieked warnings as vessels across 50 levels of sky lanes banked away in panic. The rift expanded, 20 meters across, then 50, then 100, and from its center came a light that burned with impossible intensity. A figure emerged, walking through vacuum as though it were solid ground. He was clad in golden armor that seemed to drink in the light of Coruscant's sun and transform it into something brighter, more terrible. A crimson cloak billowed behind him despite the airless void, and in his hand he carried a sword whose blade flickered with power that made the hair on every neck below stand on end. He stood 3 meters tall, shoulders broad enough to bear the weight of worlds, and even from this distance, even through the ferrocrete and transparisteel of 1,000 buildings, the people of Coruscant felt his presence like a hand pressed against their minds. The Jedi Temple, ancient and serene on its perch overlooking the endless cityscape, trembled, not from any physical force, but from the collective gasp of every force-sensitive being within its walls. Masters dropped their training sabers. Padawans cried out in confusion. In the council chambers, Grandmaster Barel Ovair rose from his seat, his Syrian head tilted as he reached out through the Force to touch this new presence. He recoiled instantly, his face pale. "Impossible," he whispered. The being, the Emperor of Mankind, though none in this galaxy yet knew that name, descended through Coruscant's atmosphere with deliberate slowness. He passed through the upper sky lanes where the wealthy and powerful conducted their business in towers that scraped the clouds. He passed through the mid-levels where billions lived and worked in the eternal bustle of galactic civilization. He did not fall so much as command gravity to release him gently, and when his armored boots finally touched down on a Senate District landing platform, the permacrete cracked in a perfect circle around his feet. Coruscant security forces surrounded him within minutes, their blasters trained on this golden giant. Speeders circled overhead, heavy repeating cannons tracking his every movement. The Emperor surveyed them with eyes that had witnessed the birth and death of empires, that had stared into the face of gods and found them wanting. He did not raise his weapon. He did not speak. He simply looked, and in that look, the security captain felt the weight of 38,000 years of authority. "Stand down," the captain heard himself say, his voice distant in his own ears. His men lowered their weapons without understanding why. The Emperor's psychic might was vast, but here, in this galaxy, it felt muted. The warp energies that had sustained him for millennia did not flow here. Instead, there was this force, this pervasive field of energy that connected all living things in patterns both similar to and utterly different from what he knew. His precognition, so reliable for 10,000 years of crusade, now showed him futures that felt hollow, incomplete, as though he was seeing them through clouded glass. His telepathy functioned, but with effort that would have been trivial in his own universe. Adaptation would be necessary. Fortunately, he had adapted before. The Emperor closed his eyes and reached out, not with the warp-born powers of a psyker, but with something older, something he had nearly forgotten in his long war against chaos, the simple, pure curiosity of a man seeking to understand. The Force responded tentatively, like a wild creature approaching an open hand. He felt its currents, its eddies, the way it flowed through the midi-chlorians in every living cell. It was elegant, natural, biological, where the warp was entropic and chaotic, a worthy subject of study. In the Jedi Temple, alarms began to sound. "He's learning," Master Over said, his voice tight with something that might have been fear or awe. "Whatever he is, he's studying the Force itself, and he's learning at a rate I've never witnessed." "Should we send someone to make contact?" asked Master Lyranor, a human woman whose skill in diplomacy had resolved a dozen conflicts. "Send who?" Over replied. "What do you say to a being that makes the Force itself feel uncertain?" The Emperor opened his eyes. Golden light flickered in their depths, not the corrupted gold of Sith eyes, but something purer, more ancient. He had taken his measure of this galaxy in those few moments of study. A republic 10,000 years old, grown complacent and corrupt. A Jedi order that served as its protectors, noble in intent but hamstrung by dogma and detachment. And somewhere in the shadows he felt them, dark side users, Sith, playing the long game of manipulation and revenge. How familiar it all was, how depressingly predictable. He had built an Imperium before. He could build one again. But first, he needed information. He needed to understand the pieces on this board before he decided which to use and which to sweep aside. The Emperor began to walk, his sword dissolving into golden particles that flowed back into his armor. The security forces parted before him like water before a ship's prow. He strode into the streets of Coruscant with the confidence of a king touring his domain, and all around him, people stopped and stared. Some fell to their knees without knowing why. Others wept. A few, those with the gift of Force sensitivity, felt their connection to that great field of energy suddenly sharpen, as though his mere presence amplified their abilities. On a balcony high above, a figure in dark robes watched through eyes hidden beneath a hood. The Sith Lord smiled, thin and calculating. This newcomer radiated power, yes, but power that was not fully adapted to this galaxy. Power that might be turned, shaped, or if necessary, destroyed. The game had just become far more interesting. If you want to see more characters enter the Star Wars galaxy, hit that subscribe button and drop the name of a character you'd want to see in the comments below. May the Force be with you. The Emperor of Mankind walked the streets of Coruscant, and the galaxy held its breath, sensing that nothing would ever be the same again. The Jedi Council convened in emergency session within the hour. 12 masters formed a circle in the high-vaulted chamber, their faces illuminated by the afternoon light streaming through tall windows. Below them, Coruscant sprawled in every direction, a monument to 10,000 years of Republic civilization. Yet none of them looked at the view. All eyes were fixed on the holographic projection hovering in the chamber's center, a golden figure walking through the Senate district as crowds parted before him like grain before the scythe. His midi-chlorian count is... Master Lyranor paused, consulting her datapad again as if hoping the numbers would change. "It's beyond measurement. Our scanners registered levels that exceeded their maximum capacity before failing entirely." "Immeasurable power does not make one righteous," said Master Over, his long fingers steepled before him. "The Sith Lords of old possessed terrible strength. This being may be no different." Master Koros, a Keldor whose Antioch's mask hissed softly with each breath, shook his head. "I sense no dark side taint in him, but neither is he fully of the light. He exists, outside our understanding, as if the Force itself is uncertain how to categorize his existence." "Because he is not of this galaxy," came a new voice. The council turned as the doors opened to admit Master Khan, an ancient Ithorian whose knowledge of Force law was unmatched in the Order. "I have consulted the archives. There are legends, old beyond old, of rifts between realities, of places where the Force does not flow as it does here. This being has the mark of the outer darkness upon him. Not evil, but foreign. The hologram shifted, tracking the Emperor as he paused before a food vendor, a Rhodian woman who offered him what appeared to be a skewer of roasted nerf. The Emperor studied it with the same intense focus he might give to a strategic military document, then accepted it with a nod that somehow conveyed both gratitude and imperial authority. He did not eat it. He had not needed food for sustenance in millennia, but he examined it, learning from this simple interaction something about the culture and economy of this world. He learns by observation, Master Lyrina noted. Every interaction is data to him. Watch his eyes. They catalogue everything. As would any intelligence operative, countered Master Joras, a human whose pragmatism often put him at odds with the Council's more contemplative members. We should send someone to make contact before the Senate does something foolish, or worse, before the Sith reach him first. You believe the Sith will attempt contact? Auvert asked. I would, in their position. A being of such power, unfamiliar with our galaxy's politics, uncertain in his abilities. The dark side thrives on manipulation of the lost and confused. Joras leaned forward. We must act now, or we risk creating an enemy far more dangerous than any we have faced in 1,000 years. The Emperor, unaware or unconcerned with the Council's deliberations, continued his systematic exploration of Coruscant. He had walked among the high towers of the Senate district, observing the interplay of lobbyists and politicians, the subtle corruptions and blatant bribes exchanged in shadowed alcoves. He had descended into the mid-levels where the working masses toiled, their lives bounded by shifts and credits and dreams of elevation that would never come. Now he moved deeper still, into the lower levels where Coruscant's underworld held sway. Here, in the perpetual twilight beneath 1,000 levels of construction, he found what he expected: poverty, crime, desperation. A Deveronian crime boss extracted protection payments from a terrified Twi'lek shopkeeper. Spice dealers hawked their wares in the open, confident that Republic law did not reach these depths. Children, dozens of species, all sharing the universal look of hunger, darted between alleys, their futures already written in the grime on their faces. The Emperor had seen this before, on 1,000 worlds across the Imperium. Urban decay, the inevitable result of centralized government growing too distant from its people. On Terra, he had burned away such corruption with psychic fire and rebuilt from the ashes. Here, he was still learning the rules of engagement. A group of thugs, emboldened by the Emperor's apparent isolation, moved to surround him. They were Wike primarily, their leathery skin marked with clan tattoos, armed with vibroblades and holdout blasters. Their leader, a scarred veteran of countless underworld conflicts, stepped forward with the swagger of a man who had never met a threat he couldn't intimidate or kill. "Nice armor, off-worlder," the leader growled in accented basic. "Bet it's worth more than this whole sector. Hand it over, and maybe we let you walk out of here on your own legs." The Emperor regarded him with the same detached interest he had shown the food vendor. The thug's bravado, his attempt to mask fear with aggression, the way his companions positioned themselves for an ambush, all of it was as familiar as breathing. Humanity's baser impulses transcended galaxies, it seemed. "You should reconsider," the Emperor said, his voice a deep rumble that seemed to resonate in the bones of everyone present. He spoke in perfect basic, having absorbed the language from the minds of everyone he had passed in the upper levels. "I am not prey." The leader laughed, a harsh bark that echoed off durasteel walls. "Everyone's prey down here, golden boy. That's the only law that—" He never finished the sentence. The Emperor moved. To those watching, and there were always watchers in Coruscant's depths, it appeared as if reality skipped a frame. One moment, the Emperor stood still, surrounded. The next, all 6 thugs were on the ground, weapons scattered, alive, but unconscious. The Emperor had not drawn a weapon. His armor bore not a single scratch. He stood exactly where he had been, as if he had never moved at all. But he had. In the space between heartbeats, he had disarmed and incapacitated 6 armed criminals with the precision of a surgeon and the efficiency of an executioner. His psychic powers might be diminished, but 38,000 years of combat experience remained undiminished. These men were lucky he had chosen to leave them breathing. From the shadows, applause, slow, mocking, theatrical, impressive, came a voice smooth as Corellian whiskey. A figure emerged from an alcove, human in appearance, dressed in dark robes that seemed to absorb the dim light. His face was handsome, aristocratic, with eyes that held a calculating intelligence. Very impressive indeed. One might almost think you were a Jedi, save for the distinct lack of self-righteous posturing about the sanctity of life. The Emperor turned to face this newcomer, and in that moment he felt it. The dark side coiled around this man like a serpent around its prey. Not a master, not yet, but an apprentice perhaps, or an assassin. The Sith had found him faster than he had anticipated. "I am no Jedi," the Emperor replied, his tone neutral. "And you are no mere observer. State your purpose or depart. I have little patience for games." The man's smile widened, showing teeth that seemed just slightly too white. "Direct. I appreciate that. My master sent me to assess you, to determine whether you might be an ally in our great work, or merely another obstacle to be removed." He spread his hands in a gesture of false openness. "I am Darth Venorus, and I bring you an invitation from those who truly understand power in this galaxy." In the Jedi Temple, alarms blared. Master Over's eyes snapped open from his meditation, his face pale. "The Sith have made contact. We're out of time. Send Master Lyranor and a diplomatic team immediately," he commanded. "If we lose him to the dark side now, we may have unleashed a catastrophe we cannot contain." The Emperor studied Darth Venorus with the same analytical precision he had applied to every aspect of this galaxy since his arrival. The Sith's power was considerable by local standards. His connection to the dark side ran deep, fueled by years of meditation on passion, anger, and ambition. But compared to the psykers of the Imperium, compared to the greater demons the Emperor had banished with a thought, this man was a candle flame challenging a star. Still, candle flames could start fires if left unattended. "Your master sent you alone?" the Emperor asked, his tone suggesting this was a tactical error of the First Order. "Either he values you very little, or he underestimates me greatly. Both speak poorly of his judgment." Venorus's smile never wavered, but something flickered behind his eyes, surprised that this stranger had cut through the pretense so quickly. "My master is cautious. He does not extend invitations to those unworthy of consideration. The fact that I am here at all is a compliment of the highest order." "Compliments are wind," the Emperor replied. "Tell me what your master offers that I cannot simply take." The Sith apprentice's expression shifted, calculation replacing charm. This was a man accustomed to negotiating from positions of hidden strength, to dangling promises before the desperate and ambitious. But the being before him radiated neither desperation nor conventional ambition. Venorus adjusted his approach with the fluidity of a trained manipulator. "Knowledge," he said simply. "You are new to this galaxy. You do not understand its currents, its power structures, the ancient war between light and dark that has shaped civilization for millennia. My master has studied for decades, accumulated secrets that even the Jedi in their vaunted temple do not possess. Alliance with us would accelerate your acclamation." The Emperor considered this. It was not entirely without merit. He had been in this galaxy less than a day, and while his ability to absorb information through psychic contact had given him surface-level understanding of language and culture, the deeper currents of Force philosophy and galactic politics remained opaque. The Sith offered a shortcut to comprehension. They also offered corruption, manipulation, and ultimately betrayal. The Emperor had faced the Chaos Gods themselves, entities whose capacity for treachery dwarfed anything these primitive dark side users could conceive. He recognized the pattern: offer power, create dependency, extract service, discard the pawn when convenient. "Your master practices the rule of two," the Emperor stated. It was not a question. He had plucked this knowledge from the surface thoughts of Coruscant's Force sensitives, fragments of legend and fear. One master, one apprentice. No more, lest the Sith destroy themselves through internal conflict. You are the apprentice, which means your master is watching this conversation, waiting to see if I am worthy of his direct attention or merely a threat to be eliminated. Venorus's composure cracked just slightly. His hand drifted toward the lightsaber concealed beneath his robes. "You know more than you should, stranger." "How?" "I know because your philosophy is not unique," the Emperor interrupted. "In my galaxy, I have faced beings who fed on emotion, who drew strength from suffering and chaos. They were more powerful than you can imagine, and they failed to corrupt me. What makes you believe your dark side would succeed where gods could not?" The temperature in the alley seemed to drop. Venorus's eyes narrowed, and the Emperor felt the dark side gather around the Sith like a cloak, power building for either flight or fight. Behind them, the unconscious thugs began to stir, their groans echoing off durasteel walls. "You speak heresy," Venorus hissed. "The Force is supreme. There is no power beyond its reach, no reality it does not touch. You are delusional, stranger, and delusion is weakness." "I speak experience," the Emperor countered, his voice carrying the weight of millennia. "The Force is powerful, yes, but it is not the only power. I am proof of that. My very existence challenges your assumptions about reality, and that terrifies you more than any enemy ever could." Above them, the distant hum of repulsor lift engines grew louder. 3 Jedi speeders descended through the vertical cityscape, their distinctive blue and white markings visible even in the dim light of the lower levels. Master Lyranor stood at the lead speeder's railing, her robes whipping in the wind of their descent, her hand resting on her lightsaber hilt, not in threat, but readiness. Venorus glanced up, cursed softly in an ancient Sith dialect, and turned back to the Emperor. "This conversation is not finished. My master will contact you again when these fools are not interfering. Consider carefully what side you choose, stranger. The Jedi will bind you with their rules and their weakness. We offer freedom. Freedom to pursue power without limit, without apology." "Freedom?" The Emperor's laugh was cold, bitter. "You offer slavery to passion, to the hunger that can never be satisfied. I have seen empires fall to such freedom. I will not be swayed by it." Dark-side energy crackled around Venorus like black lightning. For a moment, the Emperor thought the Sith might attack despite the approaching Jedi, might let passion override tactical sense. It would be educational to see lightsaber combat firsthand, to measure the combat effectiveness of these Force users against the custodians or space marines of his own Imperium. But Venorus mastered his anger, channeling it into cold calculation instead. "We shall see," he said quietly. Then he was gone, shadow-stepping through the Force, vanishing into the labyrinthine depths of Coruscant's underworld before the Jedi speeders could land. The speeders touched down with practiced precision, forming a loose perimeter. Master Lyranor disembarked first, flanked by 2 Jedi Knights, a Zabrak male with traditional facial tattoos and a Mirialan female whose face bore geometric patterns of achievement. All 3 had their lightsabers visible but unignited, a careful balance of readiness and diplomacy. "Greetings, traveler," Master Lyranor said, her voice calm and measured despite the tension crackling in the air. "I am Master Lyranor of the Jedi Order," We sensed a disturbance in the Force and came to investigate. Are you injured? Do you require assistance?" The Emperor regarded her with the same intense focus he had given Venoris, but his analysis yielded different results. This woman was genuinely concerned, not for strategic advantage, but from a place of sincere compassion. She carried power tempered by discipline, strength wrapped in service to others. Naive, perhaps, but not malicious. Not corrupt. Not yet. "I require no assistance," the Emperor replied, "but I will accept information. You are representatives of the Jedi Order, the Republic's peacekeepers. You serve a government 10,000 years old, maintained through Force philosophy and democratic bureaucracy. You oppose the Sith, who embrace passion and individual power. You believe in balance, in the cosmic will of the Force itself." Lyranor exchanged glances with her companions. "You are well informed for someone who arrived only hours ago. May I ask your name? Your purpose here?" The Emperor paused. In his own galaxy, his name carried the weight of crusade and conquest, of unity and the imperial truth. Here, he was unknown, undefined. He could be anything, claim any identity, but lies of omission were tools of the weak, and he had never been weak. "I am the Emperor of mankind," he said, his voice carrying across the alley with preternatural clarity. "In my galaxy, I united humanity under a single banner, forged an imperium of 1,000,000 worlds, and fought wars against gods and daemons. I came here through a rift in reality, pursuing enemies that threaten all existence. I am stranded, adapting, and evaluating whether this galaxy is worth saving, or whether it will fall to the same corruption that plagues my own." The silence that followed was profound. The Jedi stared at him, trying to process the enormity of what he had just claimed. 1,000,000 worlds, wars against gods. It should have sounded like madness, like the delusions of a disturbed mind, but the Force whispered that every word was truth. The Jedi Temple's council chamber had never felt so small. Master Lyranor stood before the assembled masters, her report delivered with precision, but unable to fully capture the weight of what she had experienced in that lower-level alley. The holographic recording played on repeat, the Emperor's golden armor gleaming in the dim light, his voice resonating with absolute certainty as he claimed dominion over 1,000,000 worlds in another reality. "He believes what he says," Lyranor concluded. "The Force confirms it. Every word he spoke registered as truth, at least as he perceives it. Either he is genuinely from another galaxy with radically different metaphysical laws, or his delusion is so complete that even the Force cannot distinguish it from reality." Master Over stroked his elongated chin, his Syrian brain working through possibilities at speeds that would exhaust human cognition. "The rift above Coruscant has not closed. Our astronomers report ongoing spatial distortions, energies that do not match any known hyperspace phenomenon or Force technique. If he truly came through that tear in reality, then he is potentially the most dangerous being in the galaxy," Master Koros finished, "not because of malice, but because he operates outside every framework we understand. The rule of two exists to prevent Sith from accumulating unchecked power. The Jedi Code exists to prevent Force users from falling to corruption. This Emperor acknowledges neither limitation, yet he rejected the Sith overture," noted Master Joras, his pragmatic mind already calculating political angles. "Darth Venoris reported directly to his master, we can assume, and the Sith have not yet moved against him openly. That suggests even they are uncertain how to proceed." Master Khan's vocoder translated his Ithorian speech into thoughtful basic. "The ancient texts speak of beings called Celestials, entities who shaped worlds and stars before the Republic's founding. Perhaps this Emperor is something similar, a cosmic force given humanoid form, operating on scales we cannot comprehend. Or perhaps said a new voice from the chamber's entrance. "He is exactly what he claims to be, and your inability to accept that speaks to the limits of your philosophy, not his nature." The council turned as one. The speaker was Senator Arix Ven of Karelia, a human woman in her 50s whose political acumen had kept her in power through 4 administrations. She was not force-sensitive, had no business in the temple's inner sanctum. Yet here she stood with the confidence of someone accustomed to going wherever power resided. "Senator," Over said carefully, "this is a closed session of the Jedi Council. How did you gain entry?" "I'm a Republic senator investigating a potential threat to galactic security. The temple operates at the Republic's sufferance, Master Over, a fact your order sometimes forgets." She moved into the chamber with practiced ease, her datapad already displaying intelligence reports. "While you've been meditating on the Force's whispers, I've been doing actual intelligence work. This Emperor, if that's what he is, has been walking Coruscant for 6 hours. In that time, he has broken up 3 criminal operations, prevented 2 murders, and extracted confessions from 4 corrupt Republic officials simply by looking at them." Master Lyranor frowned. "Confessions? Through force persuasion? Through terror?" Ven corrected. "The officials described it as standing before judgment incarnate. They confessed crimes we didn't even know they'd committed because they believed he already knew everything, and lying would only make their punishment worse." She paused. "He hasn't actually punished anyone. He simply recorded their confessions on a datapad he apparently built from spare parts in 20 minutes and sent the files to Republic Justice." The council exchanged troubled glances. This was not the behavior of a conqueror or a madman. This was the behavior of someone establishing order through overwhelming authority, someone accustomed to governance on a scale that made the Republic look provincial. "The Senate wants to meet him," Ven continued. "Chancellor Varos has called an emergency session. Half the Senate wants to name him a hero for cleaning up Lower Coruscant. The other half wants him arrested as a vigilante. And a very small, very nervous minority wants him eliminated before he decides the Republic itself needs correcting." "The Senate cannot simply execute someone for being powerful," Master Koros protested. Ven's smile was thin. "The Senate can do whatever it votes to do, Master Koros. That's democracy. Sometimes messy, often unjust, but infinitely preferable to the alternative." She turned her datapad to display a new image. The Emperor standing in Senate District Plaza, surrounded by crowds that had gathered to see this golden giant. He's already drawing followers. People are calling him the Golden Savior, the Emperor of Justice. If the Senate doesn't act quickly to define him, he'll define himself, and that definition might not include acknowledging Republic authority. In the shadows of Coruscant's industrial sector, far from Jedi temples and Senate chambers, another council convened. The location was a decommissioned power station, its generators silent for decades, its cavernous interior perfect for clandestine meetings. Darth Venoris knelt on the durasteel floor, his head bowed, waiting for his master's judgment. The Sith Lord, who emerged from the darkness, was unremarkable in appearance, human, middle-aged, with the kind of face that disappeared in crowds. But the dark side clung to him like a second skin, concentrated and refined through years of meditation and murder. He was Darth Malgus's spiritual successor, though that name was lost to history. The current Sith called him Darth Ruin, and his ambition was nothing less than the Republic's complete destruction. "You failed to recruit him," Ruin said, his voice soft and far more dangerous for its quietness. "He rejected our offer, Master. He claims immunity to corruption, to the dark side itself. He speaks of facing beings he calls gods and emerging unbroken." "And you believe him?" Venoris hesitated. In the Sith tradition, failure was often fatal, but dishonesty was always fatal. "Yes, Master. The Force itself seemed uncertain around him, as if unable to determine whether he belongs to light, dark, or something entirely foreign. His power is... He struggled for words. Immense, but operating through rules we do not understand. Ruin circled his apprentice like a predator evaluating prey. The Jedi will try to bind him with their philosophy. The Senate will try to control him with law and politics. Both will fail, because both approach him as if he were a local phenomenon they can categorize and contain. He stopped, staring into the darkness, as if seeing futures unfold before him. But we understand something they do not. Power respects only power. If we cannot turn him, we must demonstrate that opposing us carries consequences he cannot ignore. What would you have me do, Master? Nothing yet. Let the Jedi exhaust themselves trying to understand him. Let the Senate tie itself in knots debating jurisdiction and authority. Meanwhile, we observe, we learn, and when the moment is right, we strike not at him, but at what he values. Ruin smiled, cold and calculating. Even emperors have weaknesses. We simply need to discover his. The Emperor stood in Senate District Plaza, surrounded by hundreds of civilians who had gathered to witness this strange being who had appeared from nowhere. He did not address them, did not seek their adulation or approval. He simply stood, watching, learning the rhythms of this society through direct observation. A human child, no more than 7 standard years old, broke from her mother's grasp and ran toward him. Security personnel moved to intercept, but the Emperor raised one golden gauntlet in a gesture that somehow conveyed both authority and gentleness. The guards froze mid-step. The child stopped before him, craning her neck to look up at his towering form. "Are you really an Emperor?" she asked, her voice carrying the perfect clarity of innocent curiosity. The Emperor knelt, reducing the distance between them. Even kneeling, he was taller than most humans standing. "I was," he said quietly, his voice pitched for her ears alone but carrying to every listener in the plaza. "In a place far from here. Now I am uncertain what I am." "Are you going to help us?" the child asked. "Mama says the Republic is sick. She says politicians lie and people are hungry, and nobody cares anymore." Out of the mouths of children, the Emperor thought, came truth that adults had learned to hide. He looked at this girl, human, but she could have been born on any of 10,000 worlds in his Imperium. The same hope in her eyes, the same implicit faith that someone, somewhere, possessed the power and will to make things better. He had spent 38,000 years answering that faith, building, protecting, conquering when necessary, but always with the goal of human survival and prosperity. Could he simply ignore that calling here, in this galaxy, simply because these were not his people? The Force pulsed around him, and for the first time since his arrival, he felt it respond to his emotions rather than his analysis. It showed him possibilities. The Republic falling into chaos, the Sith emerging from shadow to claim dominion, billions suffering under tyranny or perishing in war. It also showed him alternatives, futures where his presence changed trajectories, where his knowledge and power bent history toward better outcomes. The visions were incomplete, uncertain, filtered through a metaphysical framework he still did not fully understand. But the core truth remained. His actions here would matter. The question was what kind of difference he chose to make. "Yes," he told the child, making a decision that would reshape the galaxy. "I am going to help, but not in the way anyone expects." He rose to his full height and activated a device he had built during his walk, a communications beacon that would broadcast across every Republic channel simultaneously. When he spoke, his voice carried not just across the plaza, but across Coruscant, across the holonet, to every world connected to Republic infrastructure. "People of this galaxy," the Emperor declared, "I am the Emperor of mankind. and I have come from beyond your reality with a message you will not want to hear, but desperately need to understand. Your republic is dying. Not quickly, not dramatically, but through the slow poison of corruption, complacency, and institutions that serve themselves rather than those they were created to protect. I have watched civilizations fall to this disease across 10,000 years. I will not watch it happen again. In the Jedi Temple, alarms blared. In the Senate, politicians erupted in outrage and fear. In the shadows, Darth Ruin smiled. The Emperor had made his opening move. The Senate chamber descended into chaos within minutes of the Emperor's broadcast. 3,000 senators from across the Republic shouted over each other, their repulsor pods jockeying for position in the massive spherical chamber as Chancellor Varos hammered his gavel uselessly against the podium. The carefully maintained decorum of millennia-old democratic tradition shattered like glass under the weight of one man's declaration. "This is an act of war," bellowed Senator Orn Freetar of Ryloth, his multiple chins quivering with indignation. "An unknown entity appears in our capital and within hours presumes to lecture the Galactic Republic on governance. I move for immediate military action." "Military action against what?" countered Senator Venn, her voice cutting through the din with practiced precision. "A single individual who has committed no crime except speaking uncomfortable truths. Half of you have been complaining about the Republic's corruption for years. Now someone actually acknowledges it publicly and you want to shoot him. He undermines confidence in democratic institutions," argued Senator Motnot Rab of Trandosha. "That alone justifies intervention. If we allow such rhetoric to stand unchallenged, we invite chaos." "We already have chaos," Venn shot back. "We have systems going decades without representation because their senators are too busy collecting bribes to attend sessions. We have laws that apply differently based on how many credits you can afford to spend. The Emperor isn't undermining confidence in our institutions. He's pointing out that we've already done that ourselves." Chancellor Varos, a Twi'lek whose political survival instincts were honed by 30 years in the Senate, finally restored a semblance of order. "Senators, please. This debate serves no purpose without more information. The Jedi Council has agreed to bring this Emperor before the Senate for formal dialogue. Master Over himself will escort." The Chancellor's words died as the chamber's massive doors opened, not through mechanical operation, but through the Force itself. Every Jedi in the Senate felt it. Raw telekinetic power wielded with surgical precision, pushing the massive blast doors apart as easily as parting curtains. The Emperor of Mankind strode into the Senate chamber, alone, unescorted, his golden armor blazing in the chamber's light. He had not waited for invitation or escort. He had simply decided the time had come to address the Republic's leadership, and nothing, not security protocols, not blast doors, not the Jedi Order itself, would delay him. Master Over and 3 other Jedi Masters rushed in behind him, their expressions mixing embarrassment and alarm. "Emperor, please," Over called out. "There are protocols, proper channels, protocols that allow corruption to flourish while you debate proper procedure," the Emperor replied without turning. His voice carried through the chamber with unnatural clarity, requiring no amplification. "I have observed your Republic for 6 hours, Jedi. I have seen enough." He walked to the center of the chamber, to the platform reserved for those addressing the full Senate, and turned slowly, his gaze sweeping across 3,000 faces. When he spoke, every senator felt as though he were looking directly at them, seeing through every pretense, every carefully constructed lie they told themselves about their service to the greater good. "You mistake me for a petitioner seeking your approval," the Emperor began. "I am not. I am a force of nature that has arrived in your galaxy, and I will operate according to principles you may find uncomfortable but cannot deny. Your Republic, as it currently exists, will not survive the next century, perhaps not the next decade. The rot is too deep, the contradictions too fundamental. Outraged shouts erupted, but the emperor continued, his voice somehow cutting through the noise without rising in volume. It was a trick of psychic projection, subtle enough that no one consciously recognized it, but effective enough to command absolute attention. You have become what you once opposed. The Jedi Order, founded to serve the Force and protect life, now serves a political entity that uses you as weapons to enforce status quo. You senators, elected to represent your people, now represent corporate interests and personal enrichment. Your laws apply selectively. Your justice favors the wealthy. Your democracy is a facade behind which oligarchy operates with impunity. Senator Orn Free Tar's face turned a deep purple. How dare you? The Republic has stood for 10,000 years. We have brought peace and prosperity to the core worlds, the Emperor interrupted, his golden eyes fixing on the Twi'lek senator with an intensity that made the corpulent politician shrink in his pod. To those systems wealthy enough to matter. But I walked through Coruscant's lower levels. I saw poverty that would shame a frontier world, suffering within sight of your greatest monuments to democracy. If this is what you call prosperity, I have seen more honest tyranny in my own galaxy. The Jedi Masters exchanged troubled glances. Every word the Emperor spoke was technically true, yet the way he spoke them, with absolute certainty, with the authority of someone who expected obedience rather than debate, set off every warning signal in their Force-attuned minds. This was not how democracies functioned. This was how dictators justified their rise to power. Chancellor Varos attempted to regain control. Emperor, we acknowledge that the Republic faces challenges, but change must come through democratic processes, through debate and consensus, not through the dictates of one individual, however powerful. The Emperor turned his full attention to the Chancellor, and Varos felt the weight of that gaze like a physical pressure. And how long do those processes take, Chancellor? How many generations must suffer while you debate? In my galaxy, I unified humanity not through endless discussion, but through vision, strength, and the will to act when action was necessary. I built an imperium that spanned 1,000,000 worlds because I understood a fundamental truth. Democracy is a luxury afforded by stability, and stability must sometimes be imposed before democracy can flourish. That is tyranny, Master Over stated flatly, stepping forward. You advocate for authoritarian rule, for one man deciding the fate of trillions. The Jedi Order cannot and will not support such a path. Cannot? The Emperor's laugh was cold. Jedi, you already support it. You serve a Supreme Chancellor with emergency powers. You enforce laws passed by senators you know are corrupt. You fight wars declared by politicians you do not trust. You simply prefer the tyranny you know to alternatives you fear. The truth of those words hung in the air like a verdict. Master Over's hand drifted to his lightsaber, not in threat, but in unconscious reflex. The gesture of a man confronting an argument he could not easily refute. Senator Venn seized the moment, her political instincts recognizing opportunity. The Emperor raises valid points, however uncomfortable his delivery. Perhaps instead of treating him as a threat, we should consider what he offers, an outsider's perspective, free from our political entanglements, someone who might see solutions we've been too close to recognize. You would give power to someone who openly advocates for dictatorship, Senator Motnot Rab protested. I would listen to someone who isn't beholden to Quat drive yards or the banking clan, Venn retorted. When was the last time anyone in this chamber made a decision based purely on what was best for the Republic, rather than what was best for their next election? The silence that followed was damning. The Emperor watched this interplay with interest. Senator Venn was intelligent, pragmatic, and perhaps most importantly, genuinely frustrated with the system she served. Such people were valuable. They could be convinced to support necessary changes, even radical ones, if properly approached. not through dark side manipulation, but through appeals to their better natures, their desire to actually serve, rather than simply hold office. "I do not seek your Senate seat, Chancellor," the Emperor said, his tone shifting from condemnation to something almost conciliatory. "I do not seek to dismantle your republic, despite its flaws. What I seek is to understand this galaxy well enough to survive in it, and to prevent it from falling to threats you do not yet recognize." "What threats?" demanded Senator Orn Free Tar, eager to redirect the conversation away from uncomfortable truths about corruption. The Emperor paused, considering how much to reveal. In his own galaxy, he had faced the Chaos Gods, demons spawned from the warp's maddening energies, xenospecies that threatened humanity's very existence. Here, the threats were different but no less real. The Sith, operating in shadow, patient and implacable. The dark side itself, a corruption that could take root in any Force-sensitive mind. But as Senator Venn watched the Emperor coordinate rescue efforts with Republic emergency services, issuing orders that people followed automatically despite his lack of official authority, she understood something that filled her with equal parts hope and dread. The old Republic was dying, exactly as the Emperor had prophesied. The question was not whether change would come, but who would control it when it did. The Sith sought power through chaos and domination. The Jedi sought peace through philosophy and detachment. The Emperor sought order through reason and overwhelming force. All three paths led to authority concentrated in the hands of the few. The only question that mattered was which few the galaxy could trust to wield it justly. Venn was not certain she knew the answer, but watching the Emperor work, seeing him save lives with the same efficiency he had used to end them, she suspected that this golden stranger from another galaxy might be the Republic's only chance to survive what was coming. Whether that survival was worth the cost remained to be seen. The emergency session of the Galactic Senate convened in a secondary chamber, the primary hall still evacuated and under forensic investigation. 3,000 senators gathered in grim silence, their usual political theater abandoned in the face of genuine crisis. The Sith were real. The Sith had attacked. The comfortable assumption that ancient evils remained safely buried in history had been proven catastrophically wrong. Chancellor Varos stood at the central podium, his Twi'lek features drawn with exhaustion and stress. The death toll stands at 147 senators, staff, and security personnel. Another 300 are injured, many critically. This is the greatest loss of life in Senate history, and it occurred not through accident or natural disaster, but through deliberate attack by an enemy we believed extinct. Murmurs rippled through the chamber, fear and anger mixing into a volatile combination. Senator Orn Free Tar rose in his repulsor pod, his multiple chins quivering with indignation. How is this possible? The Jedi assured us the Sith were destroyed 1,000 years ago. Are we to believe they simply lied, or were they incompetent? Master Over stood in the Jedi delegation area, his face carefully neutral, despite the accusation. The Jedi Order acted on the best information available. The Sith went to extraordinary lengths to hide their survival, to operate in shadow while we searched in light. We accept responsibility for this intelligence failure, but recrimination serves no purpose now. The question is how we respond. We respond with the full might of the Republic military, shouted Senator Mot Not Rab. We mobilize the fleet, we hunt these Sith to whatever hole they hide in, and we eliminate them permanently. And how do you propose we find them? Senator Venn's voice cut through the growing cacophony with practiced precision. The Sith Master, Darth Ruin, if intelligence from the Emperor is correct, has evaded Jedi detection for decades, perhaps centuries. He has infiltrated our institutions, corrupted our officials, and operated with impunity while we debated trade regulations and tax policy. Mobilizing the military accomplishes nothing if we cannot identify the target. Then we grant emergency powers, another senator called out. expand security forces, authorize surveillance, suspend certain civil liberties until the threat is neutralized. The Emperor stood in the visitors' gallery, observing this democratic chaos with the detached interest of a xenoarchaeologist studying primitive rituals. This was how republics died, not through conquest or coup, but through their own terrified citizens voting away freedoms in exchange for promises of security that would never materialize. He had seen it before, on a dozen worlds across the Imperium, the same pattern repeating with minor variations. The Sith understood this. They had engineered this exact response, knowing that fear would drive the Republic toward authoritarianism, would create the very conditions that made dark side manipulation easier. Crisis bred desperation. Desperation bred draconian measures, and draconian measures bred the suffering and anger that fueled the dark side itself. A perfect feedback loop. Breaking that loop would require something the Republic had never possessed. A leader capable of wielding power without being corrupted by it, strong enough to impose order, yet principled enough to voluntarily relinquish that power when crisis passed. The Emperor had been such a leader once, in his own galaxy, for a time. The Senate will vote on emergency measures, Chancellor Varos announced, attempting to restore order. But first, we must address the being whose intervention saved many of our lives. The Emperor of Mankind stands accused by some of vigilantism and extrajudicial killing, while others call him our savior. He has requested the opportunity to address this body. I ask that we hear him. Silence fell as the Emperor descended from the gallery. He did not walk. He simply appeared at the central platform, teleportation through the Force executed so smoothly that many senators blinked in confusion, uncertain whether they had witnessed actual movement or if their minds had simply skipped over the transition. It was a deliberate demonstration, a reminder that he operated by rules this galaxy did not yet understand. Senators of the Republic, the Emperor began, his voice carrying without amplification, reaching every ear in the vast chamber. I stand before you not as a citizen seeking justice, nor as a foreign dignitary requesting alliance. I stand as someone who has watched your civilization for mere days, yet understands its trajectory with absolute clarity. You are dying, not metaphorically, not as political hyperbole, but as observable fact. Your institutions have been infiltrated by enemies who planned for centuries while you planned for election cycles. Your Jedi are noble but constrained by philosophy that prevents decisive action. Your military is powerful but blind without accurate intelligence. You are prey, and you have not yet accepted that predators walk among you. The blunt assessment sent shockwaves through the chamber. This was not diplomatic language, not the careful rhetoric senators expected. This was diagnosis delivered with surgical precision, unconcerned with feelings or protocol. I killed a Sith Lord in your Senate building, the Emperor continued. Not because I enjoyed it, not because I seek glory or recognition, but because he was an active threat to innocent lives, and elimination was the most efficient solution. You debate whether this was just, whether I exceeded proper authority, whether I should face trial for defending your people. While you debate, more Sith prepare more attacks. While you form committees to investigate my actions, they laugh at your bureaucratic paralysis. Senator Venn found herself nodding despite her better political instincts. Every word was inflammatory, every phrase calculated to offend democratic sensibilities. Yet every word was also true in ways that made her chest tighten with recognition. I do not ask for your approval, the Emperor stated. I do not require your authorization to continue acting in this galaxy's defense. But I offer you a choice. Continue as you have been, trusting in institutions that demonstrably failed you, waiting for the next attack that will be worse than this one, or accept help from someone who has actually succeeded at defending civilizations across 1,000,000 worlds. What help? Chancellor Varos asked, his political instincts warning him that accepting anything from this being carried profound implications. What exactly are you proposing? The Emperor's golden eyes swept across the assembled senators, and in that moment, each felt as though he were addressing them personally, measuring their worth, their capability, their willingness to do what survival demanded. I propose we build something new, he said. Not a replacement for your republic, not a military dictatorship, but an organization dedicated solely to identifying and eliminating existential threats to galactic civilization. No political affiliation, no philosophical constraints, no bureaucratic delays. When the Sith reveal themselves, we strike. When corruption threatens system stability, we excise it. When enemies emerge that neither Jedi nor military can defeat, we handle them. You describe an organization with unlimited authority and no oversight, Master Over said, his voice tight with concern. That is a recipe for tyranny far worse than anything the Sith could create. I describe an organization bound by mission rather than politics, the Emperor corrected. Oversight would come from results, not committees. Success measured in civilization saved, not approval ratings achieved. And yes, it would possess authority that makes you uncomfortable. That discomfort is healthy. It means you still understand that power should be feared. But fear of power cannot paralyze you when using that power is the only viable path forward. Senator Orn Fritar's face had progressed from purple to a dangerous shade of crimson. You ask us to create an organization answerable to no one, led by you, with authority to act as it sees fit across the entire galaxy. This is insanity. This is exactly how dictatorships begin. No, the Emperor replied with unexpected gentleness. Dictatorships begin when people stop asking questions, stop demanding accountability, stop believing that those in power can be challenged. What I propose includes mechanisms for all three: transparent mission parameters, regular reporting to this Senate, and clear success metrics. If we fail to protect the Republic, you dissolve the organization. If we exceed our mandate, you prosecute us. If we become the very thing we were created to fight, you eliminate us. The chamber erupted in argument. Half the Senate saw the Emperor's proposal as salvation, a pragmatic response to genuine crisis that transcended normal political considerations. The other half saw it as the first step toward authoritarian rule, the willing surrender of freedom that would ultimately prove impossible to reclaim. Both perspectives held truth, and that was precisely what made the choice so agonizing. Senator Venn rose in her repulsopod, her voice cutting through the chaos with practiced authority. I move that we vote on emergency authorization for the formation of this organization, temporarily designated as the Imperial Guard. No, the Emperor interrupted. Not Imperial. That word carries too much weight, suggests domination rather than service. Call it something else. Something that acknowledges both its purpose and its constraints. Master Lyranor stepped forward, her Jedi robes somehow still pristine despite the day's chaos. If such an organization must exist, she said reluctantly, let it be called the Custodian Order. Custodians do not own what they protect. They serve it, preserve it, and ultimately return it to its rightful keepers. The Emperor considered this, then nodded slowly. The name carried appropriate implications: temporary authority, service-oriented purpose, eventual relinquishment of power. It was better than he had expected from this debate, a compromise that honored both necessity and principle. The Custodian Order, he agreed, empowered to act against existential threats, bound by transparent mandate, accountable to this Senate. I will lead it, but I will not staff it alone. Jedi who can balance philosophy with pragmatism. Soldiers who understand that some enemies require elimination rather than redemption. Intelligence operatives capable of thinking beyond quarterly reports. Scientists willing to push boundaries that tradition declares sacred, all working toward a single goal: galactic survival. And when the crisis passes, asked Chancellor Varos, his shrewd political mind already calculating implications. When the Sith are defeated, when stability returns, what becomes of this custodian order and its accumulated power? Then we dissolve it, the Emperor said simply. I have built empires, Chancellor. I have ruled for 10,000 years. I have no desire to rule here. My goal is to ensure this galaxy survives the coming storm, to provide tools and methods that allow civilization to endure. When that task is complete, I will depart, either return to my own galaxy if that becomes possible, or find some quiet world in this one where emperors can retire with grace. The statement hung in the air, and every politician in the chamber tried to determine whether it was truth or the most sophisticated lie they had ever heard. An emperor who claimed not to want empire, a being of immense power who promised to voluntarily surrender that power. It violated every lesson of political history, every pattern of authoritarian rise across 10,000 years of galactic civilization. Yet the Force whispered that he meant every word, at least in this moment, and that uncertainty, the possibility that he was genuinely different from every tyrant who had come before, was what made the decision possible. The vote was called. 3,000 senators faced a choice that would define the Republic's future: trust in institutions that had failed them, or trust in a stranger who promised protection at the cost of principles they had maintained for millennia. Democracy versus pragmatism. Principle versus survival. The holographic tally began to climb, yes and no votes accumulating in real time as the Senate exercised its most fundamental power, the collective choice that no single being, however powerful, could override through force alone. The Emperor watched impassively, knowing that this moment would determine not just the formation of his custodian order, but whether this galaxy could be saved through cooperation or would require the methods he had hoped to avoid: unilateral action, imposed order, the benevolent tyranny that had characterized his rule in the Imperium. The final tally appeared: 1,847 in favor, 1,153 opposed. A slim majority, barely sufficient to pass emergency legislation, representing a galaxy divided almost perfectly between hope and fear. The custodian order was approved. Chancellor Varos hammered his gavel, his expression mixing relief and trepidation. By the authority vested in this Senate, the custodian order is hereby established with temporary emergency powers to identify and eliminate existential threats to the Galactic Republic. The Emperor of Mankind is recognized as its first custodian general, with authority to recruit, organize, and deploy assets as mission parameters require. This authorization will be reviewed in one standard year, with renewal contingent on demonstrated necessity and adherence to established mandate. The Emperor bowed his head in acknowledgement, a gesture of respect that surprised many observers. Here was a being who could have simply taken what he wanted, who possessed power sufficient to enforce his will regardless of Senate approval. Yet he chose to work within democratic frameworks, even when those frameworks were agonizingly slow and inefficient. Perhaps he truly was different, or perhaps he simply understood that empires built on consent lasted longer than those built on conquest. In the shadows of Coruscant's industrial sector, Darth Ruin watched the Senate vote through a dozen hidden holocams. His unremarkable face showed no emotion, but his connection to the dark side pulsed with satisfaction. The Emperor had just done exactly what Ruin needed him to do: accepted formal responsibility for defending the Republic, taken on the burden of becoming the galaxy's protector, positioned himself as the solution to every crisis. And crisis, Ruin knew, was something the Sith could manufacture with extraordinary precision. Let him build his custodian order, Ruin murmured to the darkness. Let him recruit his warriors and establish his authority. Every step he takes towards saving this galaxy is a step closer to becoming what he claims to oppose. The road to tyranny is paved with good intentions, and we will ensure his path is very well paved indeed." The Sith Lord smiled, thin and cold, and vanished into shadow. The game had entered its next phase. 6 months had transformed the Custodian Order from emergency authorization to operational reality. The Emperor had worked with an efficiency that astounded even his critics, establishing headquarters in a repurposed orbital station above Coruscant, recruiting personnel from across the Republic with standards so rigorous that thousands applied and only dozens were accepted. He had Jedi who questioned their order's passivity. He had soldiers who had seen too many enemies escape through legal technicalities. He had scientists eager to push beyond tradition's boundaries. And he had Senator Venn, who had resigned her position to serve as the Order's liaison to Republic bureaucracy, the bridge between pragmatism and principle. The station itself was a marvel, modified with technologies the Emperor introduced from his own knowledge, systems that blended Republic engineering with principles from the dark age of technology. Shields that operated at efficiencies previously thought impossible. Sensors that could detect dark side signatures through layers of force concealment. Training facilities where recruits learned combat techniques from a being who had fought for 38,000 years. Master Lyrina stood in one such facility now, watching a sparring match between 2 custodian recruits. One was a former Jedi Knight named Kale Thross, who had left the Order after the Senate attack, unable to reconcile philosophical detachment with the reality of burning bodies. The other was Commander Drayson, a Republic soldier whose entire unit had been killed by Sith during a classified operation the Senate had subsequently buried for political convenience. They fought with practice weapons, but the intensity was real. Kale used Form V, Gem So, the aggressive Jedi style that emphasized strength and counterattack. Drayson employed pure military close-quarters combat, brutal and efficient. The Emperor had taught them to blend both approaches, to recognize that neither mystical tradition nor martial pragmatism held all answers. "They learn quickly," Lyranor observed, as the Emperor joined her at the observation railing. "They were already skilled," he replied. "I simply removed the constraints that prevented them from reaching full potential. Kyle no longer fears that aggression leads to the dark side. Drayson no longer dismisses the Force as religious superstition. Both are more effective for the integration. And more dangerous," Lyranor noted. "You create warriors without the Jedi Code to constrain them, without military chain of command to control them. What happens when one of your custodians decides their judgment supersedes orders? When they kill someone they deem a threat despite evidence suggesting alternatives." The Emperor's expression grew distant, his golden eyes reflecting memories of failures across millennia. "Then I will judge them as harshly as I judge any who abuse power. The difference between my custodians and traditional forces is not absence of constraint, but internalized discipline. They understand that their authority exists to serve civilization, not their own convenience. Those who forget this lesson will be removed, permanently, if necessary." "By you?" Lyranor asked softly. "You would kill your own people to maintain discipline?" "I have done so before," the Emperor admitted, his voice carrying the weight of ancient regrets. "One of my sons, a being I created and loved, fell to corruption. I was forced to neutralize him. It was the worst moment of my existence, yet necessary. Power without accountability is tyranny. I will not allow the Custodian Order to become what it was created to oppose, even if preventing that requires destroying what I built." Below them, the sparring match concluded with Kyle's victory, earned through a clever feint that drew Drayson into overcommitting. The 2 warriors clasped arms in mutual respect, neither diminished by the outcome. This was the Emperor's vision made manifest, warriors from different traditions learning from each other, growing stronger through synthesis rather than remaining trapped in dogmatic separation. "The Jedi Council still does not trust you," Lyranor said, changing subjects. Master Over believes your custodian order will eventually seek to replace the Jedi entirely to become the Republic's sole force-using authority. Master Over is partially correct, the Emperor replied with surprising candor. Not that I seek to replace the Jedi, but that I recognize the current order's limitations. You are peacekeepers in a galaxy that increasingly requires warriors, philosophers when the situation demands generals. This is not criticism, it is observation. The galaxy needs both Jedi and custodians, just as it needs both democracy and decisive action. The question is whether your order can accept that truth, or whether pride will blind you to necessity. An alert chimed through the facility. Not the klaxons of emergency, but the steady tone indicating new intelligence requiring command attention. The Emperor's expression shifted instantly from philosophical contemplation to tactical focus. He moved toward the command center with Lyranor following, their disagreements temporarily shelved in the face of operational priority. The command center was circular, inspired by both Republic military design and the Emperor's own memories of the Imperium's war rooms. Holographic displays showed star charts, intelligence reports, analysis of dark side activity across known space. Senator Venn stood at the central console, her political background proving invaluable for parsing the data that flowed through custodian networks. We have confirmation, Venn announced without preamble. Darth Ruin has been identified. Real name, Garrus Thane, former senator from Onderon, presumed dead in a shuttle accident 15 years ago. He faked his death, spent the intervening years studying Sith lore recovered from illegal excavations on Korriban, and has been operating through shell identities while maintaining dark side concealment. The holographic display showed a middle-aged human face, unremarkable in every way except the eyes, calculating, cold, intelligent. This was the man who had orchestrated the Senate attack, who had manipulated Republic politics for years, who commanded the Sith's return to power. Now, he had a name, a history, and most importantly, a location. He's on Dromund Kaas, Venn continued, referencing the ancient Sith world lost to Republic charts for centuries. Operating from ruins of the old Sith Empire, gathering artifacts and followers. Our intelligence suggests he's preparing something significant, a ritual, perhaps, or a weapon. Details are unclear, but the dark side readings from that sector have increased exponentially in recent weeks. The Emperor studied the data with the focused intensity that characterized his every analysis. Dromund Kaas. An entire world saturated with dark side energy, where the barriers between physical and metaphysical were thin, where Sith sorcery reached heights impossible on worlds touched by the light. It was the perfect location for Darth Ruin to make his final gambit. Isolated, defensible, empowered by centuries of accumulated darkness. This is a trap, Master Lyranor said immediately. He allows us to find him after 6 months of perfect concealment. He wants you to come, Emperor. Wants you on ground he has prepared, fighting on terms he has chosen. Of course it is a trap, the Emperor agreed. But that does not change the necessity of springing it. Darth Ruin will not remain vulnerable indefinitely. If we delay, he completes whatever working he has planned, and we face an enemy operating at full power rather than in preparation. The tactical advantage of striking now outweighs the risk of walking into his chosen battlefield. You cannot go alone, Venn insisted. That is suicide, regardless of your power. Take a full custodian strike team, coordinate with Jedi support. Approach this as the military operation it is. The Emperor shook his head slowly. A large force would be detected. Give him time to flee or activate defenses. This requires precision, speed, and overwhelming individual capability. I will take a small team. Volunteers who understand the risk and possess skills necessary for dark side environments. I volunteer, Kale Thross said from the doorway, having followed them from the training facility. I left the Jedi Order because they were too cautious. I will not make that mistake again. As do I, Commander Drayson added, stepping in behind Kale. My unit died because politicians buried intelligence about Sith activity. This is personal. Others volunteered. A custodian sensor specialist who could track dark side signatures. A former Republic intelligence operative whose espionage skills were legendary. A combat medic who had served in conflicts across the Outer Rim. Within minutes, the Emperor had his team, 6 individuals representing the best of what the Custodian Order offered, each understanding that this mission carried high probability of death, but accepting that calculus in service of the greater goal. We depart in 3 hours, the Emperor announced. Use that time to prepare equipment, review intelligence, and make peace with whatever gods or philosophies you serve. Dromund Kaas is death incarnate for those unprepared. We will be prepared. The team dispersed to their preparations, leaving the Emperor alone with Ven and Lyranor. The Jedi Master studied him with an expression mixing concern and something that might have been respect. You know this might be your last mission, Lyranor said quietly. That Darth Ruin has had months to prepare defenses specifically designed to counter your capabilities. Yet you go anyway, because you believe it necessary. I go because I am the only one who can, the Emperor replied. My custodians are skilled, but they lack experience with enemies like the Sith. They would die gloriously, achieve nothing, and leave the Republic vulnerable. I have fought worse than Darth Ruin across 10,000 years. If I cannot defeat him, then this galaxy has no chance regardless of what strategies we might attempt. That is the thinking of a tyrant, Lyranor observed, but her voice carried sadness rather than accusation. The belief that you alone can save civilization, that your judgment supersedes all others, that your death would doom countless billions. It is the same thinking that leads to the very authoritarianism you claim to oppose. The Emperor met her gaze, and for a moment, the weight of his millennia showed in his golden eyes. All the victories and failures, all the compromises and sacrifices, all the times he had been right, and all the times that rightness had cost him pieces of his soul. Perhaps, he admitted, perhaps I am what you say, a tyrant convinced of his own necessity, unable to trust others with burdens I have carried so long, they have become part of my identity. But knowing that does not change the reality. Darth Ruin must be stopped. I possess the greatest probability of succeeding. Therefore, I go. The philosophical implications of that choice can be debated after the galaxy is saved. Ven stepped forward, her politician's instincts warring with genuine concern. If you fall, what happens to the Custodian Order? To everything you have built here? Then you lead it, the Emperor said, turning his full attention to her. You understand both the necessity of pragmatic action and the importance of maintaining democratic constraints. You can bridge the gap between custodians and Republic, ensure that what I built serves rather than dominates. And if the Order becomes corrupted, if it begins pursuing power rather than protection, you will have the courage to dismantle it before it becomes the very threat it was created to oppose. You place extraordinary faith in me, Ven said, her voice uncertain. I am just a politician, a senator who saw too much corruption and believed you offered an alternative. What makes you think I am capable of such responsibility? Because you question whether you deserve it, the Emperor replied with the ghost of a smile. Those who seek power rarely deserve it. Those who doubt their worthiness often possess exactly the temperament required to wield authority justly. Lead well, Senator. Ensure that my death, if it comes, serves purpose beyond mere tragedy. He turned and walked toward the hangar bay, his golden armor gleaming under the station's artificial lights, his presence radiating the absolute certainty that had defined his existence across universes and millennia. Behind him, Ven and Lyranor watched in silence, Two women from vastly different backgrounds united in their understanding that they were witnessing something unprecedented. An emperor marching toward possible death, not for glory or conquest, but in service to a galaxy that had never asked for his protection. The transport departed 3 hours later, a stealth vessel modified with the Emperor's technology, nearly invisible to sensors, and carrying a team that represented the best hope of stopping the Sith's resurgence. It slipped through hyperspace toward Dromund Kaas, toward ancient ruins saturated with dark side power, toward a confrontation that would determine whether the Emperor's gamble, building an order dedicated to galactic defense without becoming tyrannical in the process, could succeed. On Coruscant, the Jedi Council meditated on possible futures, their visions clouded by the darkness gathering around Dromund Kaas. The Senate debated contingency plans in case the Custodian Order's leader did not return. Citizens across 1,000 worlds went about their lives, ignorant of the cosmic forces maneuvering in shadow, unaware that their continued existence might hinge on the outcome of a battle on a forgotten world. And in the ruins of the old Sith Empire, Darth Ruin waited, his unremarkable face showing neither fear nor excitement, only the cold satisfaction of a strategist whose pieces had moved exactly as predicted. The Emperor was coming. The trap was set. Now they would discover whether 10,000 years of experience could overcome 5 months of meticulous preparation on ground, where the dark side itself was a weapon. The endgame had begun. Dromund Kaas descended into chaos as the Emperor's sword carved through ancient stone and Sith sorcery alike. The battle raged through ruins that had stood for millennia, power clashing against power in a confrontation that made the Senate attack seem like a preliminary skirmish. Darth Ruin proved every bit as dangerous as anticipated, his connection to the dark side amplified by the planet itself, his mastery of Sith techniques refined through years of study, his strategic brilliance evident in every trap sprung and every contingency revealed. But the Emperor had fought demons. He had dueled Primarchs. He had stood against the very gods of chaos and emerged unbroken. Darth Ruin was formidable, but he was mortal, limited by flesh and training, and the constraints of a galaxy that had forgotten what true warfare against supernatural entities demanded. The final confrontation came in the heart of the old Sith temple, where Ruin had prepared a ritual designed to channel Dromund Kaas's accumulated darkness into himself, to transform from Sith Lord into something approaching a Force deity. It was ambitious, brilliant, and would have worked against anyone except a being who understood on fundamental levels how psychic energy operated, who could see the ritual's flaws with eyes that had witnessed 10,000 years of such workings. The Emperor disrupted the ritual at its critical moment, turned Ruin's own power against him, and struck with a precision that left no room for dark side resurrection or Force spirit survival. When it ended, Darth Ruin was simply gone. Not defeated temporarily, but eliminated permanently. His threat ended not through redemption, but through absolute termination. The Custodian team survived, though not unscathed. Kale Thross lost an arm to Sith lightning. Commander Drayson would carry scars that no Bacta tank could fully heal. 2 members did not return, their sacrifices recorded in the Order's Memorial Hall alongside commendations that could never adequately capture the value of lives given in service to billions who would never know their names. The Emperor returned to Coruscant changed, not corrupted. The dark side had broken against his will like waves against adamantium, but sobered by the recognition that every victory in this galaxy would carry similar costs. He could protect civilization, could build organizations and train warriors, and eliminate threats that democracy proved too slow to address. But he could not do so without becoming what he had spent millennia opposing, a being who decided who lived and died based on personal judgment of threat. The Custodian Order endured, grew stronger, became the Republic's shield against dangers that neither Jedi philosophy nor political consensus could adequately counter. Senator Venn proved an exceptional administrator, ensuring that power remained balanced, that authority was exercised with restraint, that the line between protection and domination remained visible even when circumstances made crossing it tempting. The Jedi Council never fully trusted the Emperor, but they learned to work alongside him, recognizing that the galaxy possessed room for multiple approaches to the eternal question of how power should be wielded. Some threats required the Jedi's patient, redemptive approach. Others required the custodian's swift, permanent solutions. Wisdom lay in knowing which approach each situation demanded. And the Emperor? He continued his great work, adapting the imperial truth to a galaxy where the Force was empirically real, teaching that mysticism and reason need not be enemies, that understanding the Force scientifically did not diminish its majesty, but revealed deeper truths about the universe's fundamental nature. He built schools where Force sensitives could learn without Jedi dogma or Sith corruption. He introduced technologies that improved billions of lives. He remained what he had always been, a custodian of human survival, operating at scales that made individuals uncomfortable, but saving civilizations in the process. The Senate voted to extend the custodian order's authorization after the first year, then the second, then indefinitely, with the understanding that dissolution remained possible should the order exceed its mandate or no longer serve the Republic's interests. Democracy adapted to accommodate the uncomfortable truth that sometimes survival required authorities operating outside normal constraints, so long as those authorities remained accountable and their power was never mistaken for legitimacy unto itself. The Emperor of mankind had entered a galaxy far, far away, seeking only to survive long enough to find a path home. Instead, he found purpose, another civilization to protect, another species to shepherd through darkness, another opportunity to prove that strength could serve rather than dominate. Whether he succeeded in that mission would not be determined in months or years, but across generations, as the institutions he built either honored their founding principles or betrayed them. In the end, that was the eternal question facing all who wielded power, not whether they possessed the strength to impose their will, but whether they possessed the wisdom to wield that strength justly and the courage to relinquish it when justice demanded. The Emperor had answered that question across 10,000 years in his own galaxy. Now he would answer it again in this one and pray that the answer proved more durable than the Imperium he had left behind. The Force would remember, history would judge, and somewhere, in the spaces between realities, the breach that had brought him here pulsed with energies that might someday carry him home, or might bring new threats that would test everything he had built in this galaxy where two emperors' visions of order collided across the vast gulf between universes. May the Force be with him. He would need it. May the Force be with you. More stories await.